kind of have this place where you like to hang out. And that place is like not too close, but also not too far, right? You're not like antisocial and don't form relationships at all. What it is like you want to be in this really safe zone where like you can remain independent, you don't have to rely on anyone, where like you don't have to feel emotionally hurt, you don't have to feel connected. From a partner perspective, these people, so from a partner perspective, your partner keeps you at arm's length. They don't want you to come close, but they don't want you to get too far. So we're gonna stay in the safe zone. And the problem with this is that these people, even though they feel numb and cold and they kind of feel like they're emotional robots, the safe zone is very unsatisfying. So it's safe, but it's like not a fun place to be. So sometimes people who have anxious avoidant attachment styles, like they want more, like they recognize that they shouldn't be this way. They recognize that they're missing something important in the relationship. They just don't know what to do about it. So going back, remember this is the situation where the parent comes back and the kid is like not really too messed up about it. They kind of remain unruffled. So I think the best way to kind of categorize this is using the word unruffled. So they're calm in the face of something, like not really too messed up about it. They kind of remain unruffled. So I think the best way to kind of categorize this is using the word unruffled. So they're calm in the face of separation, and at the same time, they actually even though they appear calm, this is actually a mask for their internal distress. So these people, they appear fiercely independent, but internally, they're like really, really distressed about it. And this is what's really cool about this. And so, when researchers, they were doing a study like with 2-year-olds, right? So what researchers were trying to figure out is, okay, it seems like the kid actually doesn't care whether like mom is in the room or mom is not in the room. And they were theorizing like maybe this is a mask. Like we're gonna pretend to be strong and we're gonna say like even though they're internally like they're really freaking out, on the outside they're like, yeah, it's no big deal, like I can handle this, I'm cool, like it's a shell. So what researchers did was measure the heart rates of the children who appeared to be completely fine. And what they actually found is that physiologically these children are distressed. Okay? So what happened is like they would measure the heart rate, and what they find is that like the kid is putting on this facade of being like totally fine and not needing connection and being independent, but internally their heart is hammering. Right? So they actually are physiologically very, very distressed. And so the anxious avoidant attachment style is sort of like a protection against like the emotional hurt. Okay? So what this actually means is that the kids are not actually fine, right? They may appear to be fine, and even in the case of the anxious avoidant attachment style, you may feel cold and numb, but it's not actually healthy. Like you learn how to adapt to the circumstance, but it's not actually good for you. So the anxious avoidant attachment style is caused by when a child communicates their emotional needs and they essentially get like no response. So remember, the ambivalent attachment style is an inconsistent response. But the avoidant attachment style happens when you communicate your emotional needs and you get like essentially like a neutral response or no response. That's when you learn to become avoidant and also like fiercely independent. Right? So what researchers sort of discovered is that when the parent's response to you is not influenced by you expressing your needs, you put up this emotional wall and you sort of like really rely on that independence. So when voicing your needs essentially does not get a good response. So like a classic example of this is like being told to man up, right? This is like the most classical example. Like I'm hurting, I go to my dad and my dad is like, why are you crying? Like, men don't cry, man up. And so now the question becomes, okay, like, what do we do about this, okay? Like, okay, so, like, Dr. K, this is fine. This is who I am. You've described me. I'm either the anxious ambivalent or the anxious avoidant person. I definitely fall into the camp of being, like, emotionally torn and having inner turmoil, or you're dating someone who's sending you mixed signals. Hey, are you upset with me? No, I'm fine. Did I do something wrong? No, it's fine. I'm telling you, it's fine. Right? Like, that's one example. Or the avoidance. Like, yeah, like, whatever, man. Like, you can do whatever you want to. And then, like, you're like, wait, are you upset? No, man, I'm cool. It's all good. Like, you do. It's fine. Like, really, like. And then sometimes what you can even see is, like, you know, fear of becoming dependent. Where it's sort of like, this is like fear of commitment. Or like these other kind of, you know, societal things that we say, oh, like, this dude is afraid of commitment. It's not that he's afraid of commitment. I mean, maybe that's a good way to put it, actually. But, like, there's other stuff going on, right? It's not like he doesn't just dislike commitment for the sake of commitment. It's sort of that, it's not that he's, like, afraid of commitment in general. It's that, like, he doesn't know if he can trust it. And this is where things get really confusing, because, like, he sends these, like, minor signals to his partner that are sort of like, hey, can I trust you? Are you, like, able to see what I'm feeling here? And then the partner is oblivious, which is not really their fault, because the signals are very, very tiny. And then they get rebuffed, and it sort of creates this like, vicious cycle. So we kind of end up with this anxious ambivalent attachment style and anxious avoidant attachment style. Now, if we go back to the original research by Ballamy, what Ballamy kind of hypothesizes, and what other people later hypothesized, is that all this stuff is formed in childhood. So, like, if we sort of look at the people who are, like, intrinsically motivated and securely attached, they lucked out because they had good parents, and, like, I got the short stick because my parents were not emotionally available to me. So it turns out that that's actually not true. And now we're going to go to a really interesting article from Current Opinion in Psychology. So as people have started to look at the origin of attachment style and how attachment style develops, there's a really important lesson to learn here, which is that foundations are not fate. And what this means is that your attachment style for early on is determined by socialization. So what this means is this is the parental influence, okay? So, like, when I'm a 1-year-old, my attachment style is absolutely determined by my parents for the most part, okay? But the cool thing that researchers have developed is that when you look at adults, the way that you were raised starts to matter less and less and less. And what matters is what they call selection effects. So socialization is your environment, and selection is your choices. So people play an active role in selecting and shaping their interpersonal environments, which means that if you fall into one of these categories, your parents may have gotten you off on a particular trajectory. Ultimately, the people that you choose to hang out with, which is going to determine whether your attachment style stays insecure and becomes secure. So this is your spawn point, right? Like, this is my starting meter. But as it turns out, the further I go into the game, just like video games, the further I go into the game, I have more of a choice about how I play, right? Because when I spawn, like, this is my starting equipment. Like, it's someone shares something like that with you can kind of be honest with them. Hey, I want to help you, but I don't know how to. And, you know, I'm going to try a couple things, or maybe you can make a suggestion, or, like, maybe we can work on this together, right? You have to figure out the answer. Because fixing your attachment style is not about figuring out the answer. It's about not facing your problem alone. It's about emotional error, not emotional correction. It's just about the other person meeting where you're at. Okay? So, to recap, like